Okay, so what we're going to try and do is to give them some more properties or parameters on setup, and also actually we'll use a setter. We could give velocity as a parameter, but seeing as though we've been looking at getters and setters, we will use a function called a setter to set the velocity once we've created it, and then we will animate it. So back into your action script file, Hawk for me, I'm not quite sure which class you're using. To avoid confusion, it might be worth closing down the other two files you've got, just so you're working with these two files at the moment. All we will be doing after that is basically using the same code in the constructor of those. So underneath get velocity, we're going to have another function called set velocity. Charlie, looking at the screen, tell me what I'm going to type. So we're going to basically create a set velocity function instead of get velocity. What do I put first? Set. No, look at this. 3 lines here. What's the first word I'm going to put? Public. Public, that's right. And then? Get. We already used get. What are we doing now? Set. Set what? Velocity. And then? Curly bracket. Yeah. Press return, puts the next one in for us. So before, we returned velocity. Now we're going to change velocity. Can you tell me how I would do that? What line of code will I put? Is there anywhere else in this document where we've changed a value of something? Say, for instance, the X or Y position. Ben? Okay, so instead of this dot, I'm going to be setting, what am I going to be setting? Velocity. So the variable which we've already created is called velocity. We created velocity here. It's set by definition, by default to 5, but equals. So we're going to need a parameter. When we created the constructor recently, where did we put the parameters? In between the... Charlie? Well done. Okay, so I'm going to give it a variable name, and that will just be v. V will be an integer, because I like to work with whole numbers when I can. They're more human meaningful. And then velocity will equal v. As meaningless until we start to animate it. So we're also going to need a function for animate or move ship. I'm not sure. So, Lottie. We're now going to create a function called move ship. Can you walk me through it, please? Just use what you can see here. So the first keyword we're going to use is public, and then function, and then what we're going to call it. This is our name. What we're doing to it, we're moving the... Okay, I'll go with move ship, nice and short. What did we use last week, Rob? Okay, so we're going to use E for the event. And then E.target what? We're going to move it laterally in the horizontal axis, which is the bent. Which axis? Yeah. Okay. Dot X. Moving it. I'm going to move it right to left. So that would be plus or minus. Well done. It is minus. Minus equals velocity. In fact, it's this velocity. We can get away with this dot velocity. When I start typing this, I should be able to see velocity there, and it'll do it for me. Okay. So we've got the function ready to make it move. We've got the set velocity function if we so want to change the velocity. Remembering by default it's going to be set to 5, so it will move anyway, always at a slow pace. So in our constructor, which is in this case the hawk function, I then need to add an event listener to it, and that event listener will be... No, that's not an event listener, that's just a reference to the event. What did we use to move things last week? Begins with E. Enter what? Enter frame. Okay. So this dot add event listener, looking for that one, press return. Event dot enter frame. We should put, this should then by default put that line of code in for me. So we don't need to type that, it does it for me. Comma. What's the name of the function, Lottie? The one we just created. Move ship. Yes. Saving at that point. Fingers crossed. Back into the main project file. Just going to test it. It's working! Woo! So, when it gets added, it moves right to left. Currently, I'm positioning it right in the center, but I actually want to put it well off screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the values or the parameters to, in this case, 1920, because it's going to be off the screen, and I'll make it 350 for the height. Test that again. Might be a bit off screen, that actually. There we go. It's a little bit off screen because I'm working with HD values and this screen's smaller than that. So there it goes, flies across the screen. Okay, so the only other thing we need to do is to set the velocity to see if that function works. So the next thing I'm going to do is in the main project file, after I've added the child, I'm just going to say new hawk dot set, and then look for set velocity. It's asking for an integer, and I'm going to say 30, semicolon, and then test it. Notice that the ship is now moving a lot faster on my example. Okay, let's get you all to that point.